Well, audience, it's me, one of your favorite peeps, Gaia Morissette, aka Empress Gaia. Okay, so before we get into today's topic, I want to just give a shout out to all the listeners. Thank you. I appreciate you. I deeply, deeply appreciate you, and I adore you. So thank you for being you, and thank you for like being brave and listening, and you never know what you're going to get. You kind of, if you're one of my audience, one of my listeners, you might be a risk taker. You never know what you're signing up for. Make sure you check the content warning, because I always come with one. Okay, so today we're going to talk about oral shame, about oral sex. So fellatio, cunnilingus, blowjobs, eating pussy, licky licky, sucky sucky. Here are all of the, here are some of the slangs. So I was having a conversation actually this morning with a client of mine, and I was like, "Hey, give me a topic. Give me a topic, because, you know, at this rate, I'm like at 240 episodes or something crazy like that. So I've covered a lot of things, and my client was like, a lot of people, and this is true, like a lot of people are uncomfortable with either giving oral sex or receiving oral sex. And so I thought, oh, that's a good conversation. So let's talk about that. So why would somebody here are some of the reasons, top reasons why people are either uncomfortable giving. Let's start with the giving. So the first and number one reason is usually trauma based, meaning that they had a traumatic experience, whether it was forced upon them, or it wasn't respectful, or it tasted bad, or it smelt bad, and so therefore there's a trauma based piece where there's no desire, and they feel it's wrong, it's disgusting. Okay, so that's usually a number one. Number two would be the fear of not doing it right or well or good enough, is another reason why people won't want to give oral sex. Third one is they have been programmed and taught, by religion, upbringing, parental, adult, childhood, societally, that licking somebody's genitals is disgusting and dirty and wrong. Okay, so those are your basically your top three things. And then number four is that the partner, that you may be okay with giving oral sex, but your partner's genitals may not be tasty or smell good, and there might be something going on in that department, or it might be too hairy or prickly, or there's something about your partner's genitals that is unappealing to you. Okay, so those are your four reasons why somebody won't give it, don't want to give it. Those are the top four. The top four reasons, I don't know how many we're going to come up with. The top reasons, we all know that I just kind of channel, I just go with the flow here. All right, I don't know how many reasons I'm going to come up with. The other side. All right, so top reasons why people don't want to receive oral sex. Okay, so we got the same thing societally. It's dirty, it's wrong, it's bad. Okay, that comes from, again, parental, religious, societally, piece. Two, they don't want to receive it because it was bad, like the skill of the person who's giving it isn't very good, so it's not pleasurable, it's uncomfortable, it might be painful, depending on whether we're talking about vaginas or we're talking about penises. It could be like there's too much teeth action, there could be it's too rough, could be there's too much facial hair, it's just uncomfortable and painful. and it doesn't feel good. Another reason is that, again, there's a pressure of performance. So there's a pressure that you're supposed to have an orgasmic release from it, or it needs to have an orgasmic released on it's a time sensitivity. So there's a creation of performance that happens, and that's really stressful and not sexy. And so a lot of people don't want to be on that receiving end of the experience. And then again, there's trauma based. So if they've had, if there's been childhood trauma, sexual abuse trauma that included touching of the genitals without consent, then again, that can be a super triggering experience to have somebody go down on you if that hasn't been healed. Okay, so those are your main reasons why people may not want to give or receive oral. Now, again, so let's talk about trauma. Okay, so it's that, because that's usually the biggest one. Okay, so the trauma piece is big and it's deeply rooted, and that one you can't kind of heal without support. All right, that one is a piece that you need somebody that is an expert in sexual trauma, somebody either like me or some of the people I know. I got another fantastic trauma person that I refer my clients to. Her name is Dana Ferrant. You've probably heard her on my podcast on our Radical Honesty Conversations. So she's great. I got another dude. I got a dude named Nate. He's my go-to person that I do all of my rewiring of my brain. So I got some people that I can refer you to. And then I got a bunch of other people too, that if you're like, okay, I'm ready to heal that trauma, I'm ready to release that trauma, reach out to me, and either I can be a good fit if that resonates for both of us, or I can refer you out to some people that I really, really admire and I really, really trust. Otherwise, you can, seek out professional help. But it's really important when it comes to especially sexual trauma. There's the healing of your trauma piece, but then and this is an important part of this, is that you want somebody who is sexually trauma informed, that can help you understand how to reclaim your sexuality. That's the piece. So it's important to heal your trauma. So either find somebody that you trust, that you can, professional that, can help you with just the first layer of your sexual abuse trauma. And then you're going to need somebody that can specialize in how do you reclaim your sexuality after the trauma. Because those are two different layers. And in order for you to either receive or like love receiving or love giving oral pleasure, you're going to need somebody that's going to help you. If you've had oral trauma, you're going to need somebody that's going to help you reclaim that. Okay, so that's an important piece when you're seeking out professional help. Are they capable of helping you to reclaim your sexuality after the trauma? All right, so that's the trauma piece. Now, let's talk about performance. Let's talk about skill, actually. So, the first thing about having somebody, so if you're on the receiving end of oral pleasure, you need to be able to communicate with your partner or partners, depending if you're getting, right? So you need to be able to communicate what you like the way you like it. So here's something about me. I have a very, 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 very delicate vagina. Okay. She's a delicate flower. The rest of me likes it dirty, rough, and slap me around. But my vagina is like sensitive and likes it soft and likes less pressure than the rest of my body. And if somebody goes too hard, too fast, it hurts and it's uncomfortable and it's not pleasurable and I'm not going to have an orgasm. for me, my vagina is like less is more when it comes to the oral department. Very light, very delicate. Somebody else may need more pressure and want more pressure. Some people may like it more dry with less saliva. Other people like more slippery. There's no, like, each genital that you are pleasing is different. And this is an important piece of I do 2 podcasts episodes on both. One is Licky Licky and the other one is Sucky Sucky. And I go into all of the how to give great oral pleasure and be like basically an oral sex rock star. But the most important piece is the communication. There's some key components, but the most important part is communication. So I have had a lot of really great lovers of my life, and every one of them I have to teach how I like it. And they could be very skilled, and somebody else's vagina really likes their moves, but because mine is different, I need to communicate and ask and show and talk about it. And if you can't communicate about what you desire, that's part of the problem of making sure that you get your needs met. The second thing is that you need to have a conversation with your partner about when you're going to direct them, that they let go of their ego. Because sometimes we believe that this is how we do this, and this is the move, and this is the move that works everywhere, and this is the move that works all the time. And the truth is that that's a lie. Everybody's genitals are different. Everybody, and even that particular genital owner may be in a different mood. So they may desire something different pressure, different stimulation, different activation spots. There's some, so it's very important to, as the giver of oral pleasure, to let go of your ego. Don't go in being like, oh yeah, I got mad oral skills. Instead, go into, I want to know what you enjoy. Now, that could be a problem if, again, we can't ask for what we want. And not being able to ask for what we want ties into the stuff around society and sex and shame about, you ask for what you want, you'll be seen as a slut, or you'll be seen as bossy, or you might be rejected, or there's all these other things. And again, those are the places that you need to heal and release and let go. And you can test that with your partner, but if you're having a hard time, then you're going to need some mediation and some extra support. Reach out to me, and I got a series of people that I can refer you to that can best serve and help you navigate and sort that pieces up. Okay. If you're like, there's no way, Gaia, there's no way I could say a little bit less, a little more, a little to the left, a little to the right. If the idea of even being able to communicate that makes you kind of feel like you're going to have a heart attack or you're hyperventilating, then please reach out, because you deserve to be able to get all the pleasure. Because if this is showing up orally, it's probably showing up in other areas of your life. It's probably showing up in the other forms of sexual expression. It's probably showing up in your relationship dynamics elsewhere. It's probably showing up at work. It's probably showing up all over the place. So practicing asking for what you want so that you can get the most amount of oral pleasure is a great practice tool to practice it all the way around in your life. Look at it that way. Okay. So now we got the skill. So the skill is something that is built, and it's built from letting go of your ego is the one that's giving it, and the person who's receiving it, guiding the person in what feels the best. in that moment, what you want, what you desire, and letting go of any fear or any shame that your partner is going to reject you if you ask for what you want. Okay. Now, societally, let's talk about the problems with society, of that it's disgusting and dirty and wrong. So let's talk about the dirty part. All right. So sometimes genitals can be kind of gross because they're smelly and they're stinky and can be sweaty, or there could be the ecosystem is off. It's a vagina owner, or, an uncircumcised penis, the ecosystem can be off. Maybe somebody has a yeast infection. Like there's stuff that could be going on. So what I suggest is if you are, you've had some bad experiences with stinky genitals, smelly, stinky, and not tasty genitals, then go have a shower together. That's a good way. You wash the genitals, okay? And it's a sexy thing. You go and you do together. You have a shower before you're going to have sexy time. You wash each other's body parts. It's like drops you into being with each other, having sensuality and pleasure. And it's washed well because you washed it. You washed it and you rinsed it because it's really important. Rinsing is really important because you don't want to taste soap. Unless that's your thing. Okay. So some people do like the taste of soap. That's not my thing. So I make sure I rinse well. So that's one way of getting rid of that, piece around it being dirty, because it's not dirty because you just washed it. Now, if it tastes bad, that can be a dietary thing, right? So if we're talking about or penis ejaculation, and it tastes funky and it tastes bad, it has a lot to do with dietary things. And so, there's a bunch of things that you can do about that, changing up your diet. Also, you don't have to swallow. That's the other piece. You don't have to swallow. And you don't even have to, you can give great oral pleasure, and you don't even have to have the ejaculate in your mouth at all. All right. You can communicate when they're going to ejaculate, you move your mouth and they ejaculate on their body or on your body somewhere else. Okay. So that's another way of getting around those pieces. Vagina owners, if after you've, done a thorough cleaning and it's still not tasting good, then there's probably something going on in the ecosystem. And that could be dietary stuff. That could be your ecosystem is off. That could be vaginitis. That could be yeast infection. That could be from a numerous things. So again, you might want to find out what's going on. It might be changing your diet, might be clearing up the candida or the yeast in your body, finding out and going and talking to, some vagina owner specialists, finding out what's going on with the ecosystem of your vagina. Now, it's really important to understand that too, that you need to allow your partner to be to determine that factor. Because, so for me, I'll just talk about me, for example. I'm not a big fan of more potent smells or taste. So that's not my thing. But I have plenty of lovers that wish that my genitals smelt more like pussy and tasted more like, more potent pussy. And for me, I don't like that. Right? I prefer when I'm going down on some vagina, that I like it when it's, I'm more of a sweet kind of girl than a tangy kind of girl. That's my nature. But I know I have partners who When I'm more tangy, really love it. And when it's, different parts of my cycle, that's the other thing. When we are in different aspects of our cycle, our menstruation cycle, our ecosystem changes and our flavor changes and our smells change and all that kind of stuff. So it's really important that you allow your lover to determine what they desire and what they like and not judge them for that. So that's a big important piece. Okay, so that's where we got, tasting, smelling. Now let's talk about the taboo, the shame of it's wrong, like dirty in a bad way, not dirty in like logistically, but like in a bad, dirty, shame, bad way. So there's a lot of both societal and religious basis, mostly from this place where that comes from, is that oral sex is not about procreation. Oral sex is about pleasure. That's it. That's his only purpose. Pleasure, giving and receiving pleasure. That's it. It's not about baby making. And so from a religious standpoint, that there's many different religions, not all of them, but many different religions believe that the act of sex is for procreation, and if you are having sexual relations outside of for the purpose of procreation, that you are sinning. And so with that being the baseline, that's why oral sex is one of those things that is frowned upon, because it's not actually about procreation, it's actually about just pleasure. And that goes against the dogma and the teaching of that particular religion. Okay, so that's kind of where the premise of the source comes from. And then that can just be passed down generationally and not even really knowing where that comes from. So here's what I have to say about, and this is my general statement about religion and sex, okay? And again, this is my belief system. So if you don't agree with that, that's okay. But this is what I have found in the work that I do to help people to embrace their sexuality, to enjoy who they are as a sexual being. And I've had to do a lot of work with people who have a lot of religious shame that's around sexuality. Okay, so here's my thing. So if you believe in God and that God created us, then God is pro sex and pro sex for pleasure, not just procreation, but for pleasure. And the reason behind that is God created the clitoris. The clitoris has zero purpose other than pleasure. It has no other function. It has no procreation function. It has no function in the body other than the nerve endings to give us orgasmic pleasure. That is its only purpose. And so if we believe that God created us and God, created us the way he wanted us to be, then if he was like anti-pleasure for sex, he would not have given us clitoris on any level whatsoever. And sex itself would not actually feel good. It wouldn't, it would be just a thing that you did to make babies, and it would have no pleasure association to it. The reason there's pleasure associated because God is pro pleasure. Otherwise, he wouldn't have created the clit. Okay, so no matter what your spiritual belief system is, the truth is that we as a body are made for pleasure. We have lots of pleasure sensory. Our whole nervous system is based on pleasure. The clitoris is based on pleasure. Sex, when doing right, is really pleasurable. All of those things, because it's something that we get to have, and it's God's pro pleasure. And so you can let go of the shame of it being a sin or it being wrong or it being a sin. That's just basically, you really release that. I lovingly invite you to release that. So that being said, you can then let go of that oral sex is wrong because this purpose is pleasure, because God's pro pleasure. And the religions who are pro-sex don't really have a thing about oral sex. There's like, sure, whatever floats your boat. Okay. So those are the main things. So we got, receiving, we got dealing with trauma, we got receiving, we got giving, we got skill building. Skill building comes, confidence. Actually, performance anxiety and confidence. Let's talk a little bit about those things. So performance anxiety starts with an expectation that you're going to have an orgasmic release from oral pleasure. And the way to prevent that from happening is having a conversation before you get into sex time with somebody and say, like, listen, I typically don't have orgasms either easily or during oral. So I like it. It feels good. But I need you to let go of any expectation that I'm going to have an orgasm. Don't ask me, did I come? Don't ask me if I am going to come. Don't ask all those questions. Okay. That's the way to start changing that narrative around performance so that you can let go of, oh my God, they're getting tired. Because I make oral sex for the sake of just pleasure, not for the goal of orgasmic release. If you let go of orgasmic release as the goal for oral pleasure, then, and you make pleasure just the goal, then you can give oral as long as you want until you're like, oh, I'm done with this. And you can receive oral as long as you want until you're done with it. And then you can move on to something else if you want to. It's the goal-oriented oral or orgasm factor that creates performance, both giving and receiving. If you're giving oral and your jaw's sore and your neck's sore and your fingers are sore and your tongue's sore and you're done, then you're done. You don't have to keep going to get the person off. If you're like, okay, that was good and now I'm bored, I want something else, you don't have to lay there and try to force yourself to have an orgasm so that the other person feels good, like they did a good job. So what's doing a good job? Doing a good job when it comes to anything sex, but in particular, we're talking about oral. Doing a good job orally is about pleasure. Receiving as much pleasure as possible, communicating what gives you the most amount of pleasure, and you as the giver enjoying giving pleasure. That's it. Not orgasm. That's not the goal. Or creating orgasm goal is the bane of all fucking sexual problems. Trust me. Pretty much every sexual problem comes back to having the goal-oriented sex, which is the orgasm. Okay, so that's how we get rid of the performance. The performance part is we let go of the goal of orgasm, the expectation that you're going to give somebody an orgasm, and orgasm comes off the table. If it happens, fantastic. If it doesn't happen, it's also fantastic. That's not the point. And have that conversation before you have sexy time. Not while you're in the middle of sexy time, because we've been programmed, every one of us has been programmed to be orgasm goal oriented. I'm going to make you come. I'm going to make you come. No one's going to make anybody come. You can give me lots of pleasure, and if there's enough pleasure as a happy byproduct, my body may release an orgasm. But no one is responsible for your orgasm. No one can make you have an orgasm. You just let it all go. And if somebody gets into goal orientation, then you need to talk to them about it afterwards and say, like, listen, I don't want to have oral. You need to have difficult conversations. Okay. Now, I don't want to have oral sex with you if you're going to feel like you're pressuring me to have an orgasm. It feels good. I'm telling you what I like. I'm giving you the feedback of what I enjoy. And that's beautiful. And I like that. But when you're like, have you come yet? Are you coming yet? Did you come yet? Was that the best? Am I the best? Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not sexy. That creates a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety, a lot of performance anxiety, which in turn makes for somebody not either wanting to give it or receive it. And as a person who's receiving it, the person who is giving it feels like they're obligated to try to get you off. There's a lot of anger and resentment if I've sucked your cock for like a half an hour and you don't blow your load. My jaw's sore, my neck's sore, my hands are sore. Or, you know, if I'm eating you out, same thing. My tongue's sore, my neck's sore, my jaw's sore, my fingers are sore. I can't feel anything and you didn't get you off. Because if that person's expectation was that they were going to get off that way, and it was your job to get them off, you don't want to do it, because it's like, well, why do I want to do this? Because it's not enjoyable. It's not this mutually gratifying, pleasure giving, receiving experience. It's, you know, now it's work. That's not fun. Sex should never be work. It should never feel like an obligation. It should never feel like work. Okay. All right. So we got performance anxiety, covered that. Skill building. There is, again, go listen to Licky Licky and Sucky Sucky. It gives you some really good foundation of how to build your oral skills, as well as I have created this fantastic, of course it's fantastic, I created it, this fabulous, fantastic course called, online course, self-study course called Skill Building, the Nuts and Bolts of Sex. And it's comprehensive. It covers everything: how to communicate, how to talk about things, all the things we talked about. There's tools, there's skill building, there's a lot of oral skill building, the logistics of how to, as well as like all the things. So I highly recommend going into like buying that course, and as a couple or couples, depending on what that definition is for you, to go through it together. And that will improve your sex life exponentially. All the things that how to communicate, how to be in your body, how to let go of all the things I talked about, how to let go of performance anxiety, how to let go of oral performance anxiety, how to let go of, not feeling good enough, all of the things, how to communicate, how to have the hard conversations, how to be a rock star in the bedroom, basically, with whoever you have sex with. Because it varies, those skills vary person to person. Okay, so go check that out. The link is in the show notes. All right, hope you enjoyed today's episode. And just a quick reminder, if you need extra support, you can reach me at GaiaMorissette.com. I can help you, or I can refer you to my peeps. Okay, have a great day. May it be filled with sexual exploration and hopefully some oral genital pleasure. Bye-bye. Well, I hope today's episode inspired you, encouraged you, and of course, made you feel tingly inside. I just want to take a moment to tell you how much I appreciate the time that you spend and how I really deeply appreciate you listening. I do it for you guys, the audience, and I love and adore you guys. So, quick loving reminder, I am not available for naked pictures, getting married, having sex, or having anybody's babies. And when you want to spend more time with me in a professional capacity as your coach, your teacher, your educator, your facilitator, you can reach me at GaiaMorissette.com. That's the gateway to all things Gaia. Now, if you're like, oh, I really wonder what's in the extended version. I also lovingly invite you to follow me on Instagram, which the handle is My Orgasmic Life Podcast, where you can leave feedback and comments. Also come join me on Facebook at My Orgasmic Life Podcast Facebook group. And I really want to hear from you. I want to know how this show affected you. What did you learn? Was it inspirational? Did you agree? Do you disagree? I want to know, because I'm a little bit of a voyeur. So I want to know how am I affecting you? So please come leave some comments. Now, if you're like, but I don't want everybody to know what I'm thinking, which is okay. Sometimes we need privacy and we need to be anonymous. So you would like that option? We have that. You can email my slutty assistant, Layla at GaiaMorissette.com. Okay, listeners, until next time, may your life be filled with sexy exploration and orgasmic pleasure. Mwah. Bye-bye.